How you doing? Okay. This is not usually a kind of a do-it-yourself show like how to make things in the kitchen. But a lot of people have fallen for the idea that they should stick a bunch of storage foods in the closet for the day when everything was coming apart. Okay, so we're all stuck at home now, and many of us all have lost our jobs, and we're thinking about the stuff that's in the closet, and we're saying to ourselves, gee, I wonder what I'm supposed to do with it. Okay, and that's where I'm at. I'm wondering, what am I supposed to do with this stuff? And so I've started integrating it into my kitchen, actually integrating it into the kitchen. Now, for those people who have children at home, this is when we teach children how to operate in the kitchen. Every child needs to be able to boil 2 cups of water and transfer safely the boiled water into a bowl and then add a pack of Jello and stir in the bowl and put it in the refrigerator. Okay, every kid needs to know how to do that. I learned how to make French toast about the age of 7, and that involves, okay, a couple of eggs, couple of slices of bread. You scramble the eggs, you put the bread in, and then you put it on hot frying pan with butter, and you turn it over when it gets brown, and you've got French toast. All right. Now, in high school, we had home economics, and there were a lot of things that we had to make, like biscuits and white sauce. A white sauce is which the French called a roux, is the basis for every gravy, every gravy. And so every kid has to know how to begin with stuff like that. But with the storage foods, what I did was I put them out around me and sorted them the way I would sort a bunch of junk in the closet. And I found that there were dehydrated vegetables and there were dehydrated dinners. Oh dear. And there was a lot of chocolate pudding, which the kids can fix. That's simple enough for the kids to do. And then I have stuff like cheese powder and omelet powder and lots of dry milk. Okay, dehydrated milk. So, what are some of the things we can do with this aggregation of cans? Well, the first thing I do to make things simple, for instance, if there's absolutely no power, if the power shut down, well, what do we want to be able to eat? My thought was to have a milkshake mix ready that you could just go like this in a shaker with milk or soy milk or whatever you want to mix it in and have a meal that way. All right. In order to do that, I went into my freezer and got out my whole store of nuts that I kept from last season. And I ground them all up and I mixed those with the milk powder and the whey. The whey is the part of the milk that you don't react to. Okay, the whey it's loaded with minerals, but it doesn't have the milk protein, so you don't have an allergic reaction to the whey. So it's nuts and whey and milk. And then I had to add a couple of things to supplement it so that I don't personally react to it because I have a problem with too much milk. So for me, I put in powdered lysine so I don't get cold sores on the inside of my mouth. And I purchased an ounce of saffron and put in about a half an ounce of the saffron. And then I jumbled all this mixture up and put it in sterile plastic bags in a strong plastic bag and stuck it in the freezer. All right, so if everything goes down, if absolutely everything goes down and there's nothing I can do up to prepare food, I can go in the freezer, pull out a plastic bag, sprinkle some in a jar with a liquid, shake it up, and I have a meal. All right. That's worst possible case. And sometimes, it's good to have that in mind. This shake thing is also a good idea if one is dieting or fasting or trying to re-regulate the diet. Now, milk and nuts are complementary proteins that are as good as hamburger or chicken or fish. Okay, milk and nuts together make a complementary protein. I leave out the grains because I'm on a paleo diet and I have a reaction to grains. Nowadays, that grains are mostly GMO. I don't eat them. I just can't. That I blow up like a balloon. Okay, so it's the powdered milk and the finely powdered nuts of different kinds. I use cashews and not walnuts, almonds, all right, and pecans. If you want it to be a little more oily, you might throw in Brazil nuts or those little German nuts, all kinds of nuts, but not walnuts. Walnuts don't work out, they're too oily. All right, so then I have in the freezer packed away probably 2 weeks worth of survival rations. Even if the power goes out, it's insulated well enough that it won't deteriorate. It's all in sterile and it's insulated. All right. The next thing I think about in terms of how do we stretch the fresh produce and groceries that we can get now, because we hear stories of dairies throwing their milk away and farmers throwing their crops away because they have no truckers to truck it out. And we haven't yet worked out the cooperative arrangements where the people from the city go out to the country and help the farmers harvest what needs harvesting and bring home a share. That I'm hoping we're going to see something like that. Okay. But as a way of starting a meal out of very little, the old stone soup story. All right. You can always begin a soup stock with ground up garlic, with just onions and salt. And of course, there's those bouillon cubes, which are mostly hydrolyzed protein, which is accent and salt. That's a way to start, okay? And then you just chop up and add whatever you can to it. Now, if you're making a stone soup, I have found that if I add just 3 chicken drumsticks or one beef back rib, okay, to the stone soup, the flavor can be rich enough to serve 4 people. All right, it's a real gift and a real talent to produce a good stone soup. And this is a good time for us to learn how to do that, particularly those of us who are a little paunchy right now. Anyway, okay. So we have our milkshakes. Now, what do we do with these other powders we get? We get this powdered cheese. What do you do with powdered cheese? Well, without looking into anybody else's recipe books, let me tell you what I'm doing with it. Because I have 2 cats and a dog. And my dog's toothing function is not real good. All right, she doesn't have much in the way of teeth anymore. She's old, she's 12. And so I put a little bit of the cheese powder, and she loves cheese, on her comestibles, okay? Just a little bit, okay? And that improves the nutrition of the commercial dog food that she absolutely loves. She has one brand. She's a Shih Tzu. She runs the whole house. She has one brand, 2 flavors that she eats. Nothing else will do. All right. So it's my job to provide her with variety by supplementing what's commercial with some really good protein. So we use cheese powder, we use collagen from bone soup, we use the skin and what do you call collagen from our chicken broth. Okay. Yes, she's spoiled. She's spoiled. All right. Now, the vegetables that come dehydrated, of course, can be added to the stone soup, and they're famous for having no flavor. So it's really important that there are a few spices that you keep in your spice cabinet for this time: bay leaves, cayenne, pink Himalayan salt. That's really important. It's got other elements in it. Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Okay. Be sure you have enough spices in your spice cabinet to handle the storage foods, which are famous for tasting like the boxes they come in. Okay. We have to be imaginative. Now, you do get some whole meals with your storage food. And I put those at the end of the line along with MREs, meals ready to eat, from the military. When all else fails, you do that. And when that fails, then we're at the stage where we have to take our dried beans, dried grains, and do something with them. God, I hope we never get to that stage. I hope we never get to that stage. So, just to get you thinking about how we're going to adapt in the kitchen to the pandemic and the directives that you can't do this and can't do that, and you have to stay home and you have to make do. I'm just trying to offer you some suggestions and ideas to get you going, because that's what I'm doing today. Is I'm figuring out how to keep going and get going and have a little fun with it, because I've never dealt with any of this stuff before. Have you? Nah, never have. And so I'll see you over the weekend. And this has been Emily Craig. And yes, please subscribe. You know, YouTube considers me a nothing, a non-entity, so long as I have a fewer subscribers than 1,000. And I used to have nearly 3,000, and they deplatformed me without telling me why. So I had to go all the way back to zero and start over again and play their game. And they haven't deplatformed me again. So maybe I'm doing something right. So it would be a big help if you could help swell my subscriber numbers again, so that they would take me seriously. I'm not taken seriously. I don't know what they think, but anyway. Have a nice Friday night. Bye-bye.